ping pong tables, Xbox, free food, lunches, everything you could want. A lot of times is what is sold to you when you're talking to companies and when you're interviewing for different software engineering jobs. These HR departments will often try to sell you on the amenities without really selling you on the actual day-to-day aspects of your job or salary. The problem with amenities is that you'll probably use them a couple times. You might hit the ping pong paddle a few times, but more often than not, you're going to look at the ping pong table and it's probably going to be a little bit dusty because people aren't playing ping pong as much as, HR may have told you they are. I've worked in a number of offices. Every single one has had a ping pong table. And I could tell you that not many people are playing ping pong just because some people don't really take a lunch. Now companies will put on these events to, have a ping pong tournament. I think every company in the US has a ping pong tournament. That's just what companies do, especially if you work in the office. But apart from that, honestly, it's just kind of like the one-off time that people are actually spending time playing ping pong. More often than not, people would just walk around the building just to walk and get outside. That's but that's not an amenity. That's just you're just going out for a walk outside. I've seen video game rooms where companies will have video games hooked up to the TVs to be played, but nobody ever used them. And there was other amenities like you get the free snacks, you get the occasional like breakfast items a couple days a week. You get the catered in meals. Most companies will kind of cater some meal for select events. Some large companies, if they have a really big building, will have a cafeteria room that has a number of options. I've worked in a couple places where the cafeteria had like 3 or 4 options to pick from. Obviously, you had to pay for them unless you're working at a place that provides you that for free. But all the places that I've worked at, you had to pay for those things. There wasn't any kind of meal plan included with your employment. So that's an expense. A lot of companies conveniently are close to a Starbucks, so a lot of people will make the daily trip over to Starbucks, get their coffee, and walk back. All that to say, amenities are something that you should not put that much stock into because I think you'd be surprised at how little you actually take advantage of them. I never really played ping pong. I think I played ping pong a couple times, and I worked there at these places anywhere from a short amount of time to a long amount of time, and I played ping pong about the same time in all of them. And I could tell you that I never played video games because, first of all, if you're going to play video games, you have to find people to play video games with. You're not just going to be that one person who goes in that room to play by themselves, because then you become that person who's not working and is going to play video games. Like there was a Nintendo Switch that was hooked up. That's what was there. And I can tell you that HR will definitely bring that up when you're talking to them as a selling point. But honestly, don't think about it too much. Don't even have that in your mind when you're considering working at any place, because the amenities can come and go. If you change offices, you might lose the amenities. The free lunches can go. We saw that happen during 2021, 2022. A lot of that stuff disappeared, and it's kind of been slow to bring back, especially as people are still working remotely or hybrid. It's just not. They're not coming back. But I see a lot of people focus a little bit too much on amenities when those things don't really add a tangible value to you. They're just kind of like, a nice, I guess, perk of having to work in the office if you have to. One thing I want to talk about in terms of amenities too is that you'll typically see amenities be talked about in such a way where it assumes people take a lunch break, when honestly, that's not going to be the case at a lot of places. I've worked at a number of places, and I can tell you that a lot of people, I would argue that a majority of people eat at their desks. Simply because if you eat at your desk, then you can continue working and then you don't have to take that half hour to an hour break. And people who go out to lunch for an hour, hour and a half, you still have to make up that time, so it extends your day. So that's where the problem is, right? So the amenities, some of them are designed to be used on your lunch break for about that hour time. But if you don't want to take that hour time, then you eat at your desk and you don't use the amenities. So you might quickly find that what you're wanting out of your job and what your lifestyle, like what kind of lifestyle you want, you might find that you're not able to use the amenities because you want that hour back in your day. Now, that's just what I've seen the past 5, 6 years from what people have been doing. But honestly, I think it's going to come down to a number of things. Do you want to leave work earlier or do you want to stay later? Do you want to leave at 5 or do you want to leave at 6? Do you want to pack your lunch or do you want to buy your lunch? Do you want to go out for coffee or do you want to have the coffee at the office? There's a number of decisions you're going to have to make, but a lot of them have a cost associated with them. And as prices of things increase, especially increase at the rate they have been the past year, you may not want to buy lunch every day because it gets expensive. Some of those places, it's like $10 a meal, which is pretty expensive. I saw some places where it's a little more reasonable, like around the $6 to $7 range. But if you're doing that every day, it starts to add up kind of quick. And these amenities are not something that you're going to look back on and remember. Let's be honest. I don't remember I barely remember the fact that one of the places I worked at had one of those like quick service stations where you could go get a snack. Sometimes I would go and walk and get like a Three Musketeers bar and walk back to my desk, and I paid $1.50 for it. So, but I barely remember that, right? The only reason I remember that is because I'm talking about it now. Another place I worked at had like free breakfast for 2 days a week. But what that was, it was yogurt and like fruit and things like that. Another place had that cafeteria style where they had like 5 or 6 options. One of the options was steak. Another one was like a noodle bowl. One of them was a vegetarian option. So they had a lot of stuff, but again, you had to pay for them, and they were expensive. And again, it adds time to your day because you don't really want to walk down there and pay for this like nice meal and take it back to your desk like that. If you're doing that, you may as well pack your lunch. And they have rooms that are really designed to do that. Let's be honest. All right, if you've seen some of these break rooms, they're just the gray walls all around with the cafeteria tables and maybe a couple tables and a couple chairs, but definitely not enough space for everybody because it's designed for people who are going in there, heating up their food in the microwave. That's why they have a lot of microwaves, and then walking back to their desk. That's why let's face it, space for the break rooms is not a very high priority. They have to give you the break room, but they know people are going back to their desk. And I think it's becoming an increasingly tough sell to get people to take that hour lunch break. Some places it's mandatory. So you should actually, I forgot about this. You should ask that in the interview. Make that very clear. If you're working in an office, what is their policy around that lunch break? Some places are very strict and it's mandatory. You have to take an hour lunch break. Again, it adds an hour to your day, right? You want to make sure you're clear on that. But it can be kind of depressing, to be honest with you, because when you walk in there to heat up your lunch in these small break rooms, when you walk back to your desk, you're kind of just sitting at your cubicle and you're eating your meal, and you're kind of like, especially if you have like any kind of food that, if you heat up. Have you ever heated up fish? Like, have you had salmon and then you put that in the microwave? I guess the whole office is now going to smell like salmon. That's just what happens. And if you have any kind of, some foods smell real bad, and but that's the way it is. But because people are not going to the cafeteria to eat because they know that it adds extra time in their day, that's why they're doing it. And there's no other. It's just as simple as that. And nobody, HR and amenity, like the people telling you about the amenities are not going to tell you that, because that's just kind of like I feel like that's kind of like the assumed knowledge about things, right? You're not like, it's kind of like the unspoken rule of like, okay, a lot of people eat at their desk because they work while they eat. And, they're not going to take the hour and a half lunch break because it adds a little extra time. And that's all I'm saying is, so when you talk about amenities, whether it's ping pong, I've even seen some places have a gym. Some places have a video game room, foosball, air hockey, ping pong, soccer, basketball, outdoor fields, bikes, scooters. There's a lot of things that you can come across, but just try your best to look at those in the right frame of mind and detach those from your actual job, from your employment, because those things you can do at home or in a space that you'd rather use than the office, because a lot of those things are designed to make you spend more time there. But that's not really talked about, but it's just kind of how it is. And when you're sitting at your desk for 8 hours, you just want to go home. And it's hard to, it becomes difficult. And I know people will say that all amenities are, nice to have. The employer doesn't even have to offer them. It's just them being nice. Yeah, the amenities are nice, right? They're nice that they're even offered, but they shouldn't be even considered at all for the job, because the quality of the job, the software engineer job you're getting, might be horrible. The job itself might not be a good job. But if the amenities are good, sometimes when you're thinking about the job, your mind tends to gravitate towards the positive, which is the amenities, and that can sometimes disillusion your thinking in terms of the actual core function of your job. Now, the company might offer no amenities, but they have a really, really good engineering team. That's the job you want to work for, because I don't care. You can make your own amenities. You don't need the employer to do that. You can have your team organize events. But if you have a really, really good engineering team that has creative thinking, is open to new ideas, and makes a really quality product, that's the team you're going to want to work on, especially if you're surrounded by people who are like good to be around and who all contribute to the product, and who are just open to creative and new ways of thinking in terms of engineering. That's a good team. And it doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't matter if you're getting breakfast on Tuesday or Wednesday, or you're getting a catered lunch on Thursday. Guarantee you won't remember that stuff, but you will remember what the engineering team was like. I'll see you on the next one.